All right, all right, all right. How's everybody doing today? I don't know why that mic gets muted. It's just crazy. It's never done that before, but oh well. Anyways, my name is 12 Gauge. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully, we'll be able to have a live today without any interruptions. What I say here is strictly my opinion. In most of the cases that I cover, I try to do some analytical visual work so that you can see exactly what I'm working on, working through. Tonight I decided to go and discuss Elliot Rodger. I'm going to have a couple guests come up here in a little bit once they get here. One thing I did want to say that I need to say it before I forget is, please be respectful and classy. In chat, we have individuals in chat that are dealing with a lot of kinds of triggering things sometimes. You don't know what people's mindset is on a daily. So even if you're playing, you might catch somebody on a wrong day, and it might cause them to react. So please be mindful, be classy, and mod, if you will. If I give you the okay, you can go ahead and time someone out. If they continue to do it, feel free to block them because this is not the platform for it, and I won't put up with it. I understand the difference between playing around and sarcasm and things like that, but if it's blatant disrespect, I won't put up with it. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring my guest to the panel, and we're going to have Kim from Typically Unique and Nina Kelly. So, here we are.
Hello.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
Hi, Nina.
Hey, sweetie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic.
Good.
All right. So, I have a video and stuff to play, but I'd rather talk about Mr. Elliot Rodger a little bit before I get to the video, and give people time to get in here. So, Kim, you said you had a little bit of insight. You did also, Nina. So, whichever one of y'all want to kind of give us a history of Elliot Rodger. I mean, I've read the manifesto. I have it pulled up. Um, I was listening to it verbatim through his own words, him reading it earlier. So I kind of know it. I just want to give you guys the opportunity to hop on in there. You know what I mean? So who wants to go first?
You can, Nina, if you're like hot on this. I watched his like life timeline today, real quick.
Well, I think that most of my research has been mostly on the incel subculture. And so, I mean, I know that it became really well known with Elliot Rodger. And I mean, they like worshiped him, the incel movement. I mean, he is like king of the incels, and of course, y'all know that after he did what he did, they did retribution in honor of him.
Well,
And
kind of give us a little information
I
on
knew that.
what they did, what he
well, I
did.
mean, like after that, there's a guy that was in Toronto, and I think he ended up killing. Yeah, it's Alec Maneson. He killed 10 people, and he called it incel retribution. Hail to Elliot Rodger. I mean, and then after that, there was one at the University of Arizona that he just went to trial in like April of this year. And he got arrested for the planning and plotting of it with an AK-47, AK-15. And he was actually going to go down Greek Row and shoot what they call the Chads and the Stacys. And it's all, I mean, they do it like in honor and remembering Elliot Rodger.
Okay. Um, Kim, you want to give a little insight on who Elliot was?
Yeah, he grew up in a decent family, seemed to have everything he wanted early in life. I know his parents got divorced, but, and that's hard to go through. But his issues seem to be not being accepted. There were things about him, like he was always super short, not good at sports, just all these things that kept him from being accepted with he deemed them the popular kids. And it just stayed that way as he was growing up. And there was a time where he blamed his dad for not teaching him when it turned to girls. Like they said, when he hit the junior high age, that's when he, that's when you're supposed to be having a girlfriend and all of that. And instead of, they also suspected an Asperger's or autism spectrum, which I found interesting because I personally can relate to that with someone I know close to. And so that awkwardness, and he felt that instead of him learning how to insert himself and make some friends or meet some girls, he expected it to come to him. It would just happen. So I thought that was, and then that led him into years later, that hatred.
Okay. Well, I'm going to play a little bit of an excerpt from 2020 where Barbara Walters interviewed his father. So I want to play a little bit of this and give a little history more from the perspectives of his father. And then we all can continue to discuss it. So here we go.
Elliot Rodger, the 22-year-old who went on a killing spree in Santa Barbara last month. The work of a madman. 13 wounded, 7 dead, including himself. Barbara Walters' exclusive one-on-one interview with his father, reliving that night.
I'll tell you the story, Barbara.
Chilling details you've never heard until now about a loner obsessed with finding a girlfriend.
I mean, look at me. I'm gorgeous. You girls don't see it.
Then obsessed with turning on the world when he couldn't.
Did you take him to Las Vegas hoping that he would lose his virginity?
Oh, I forgot about that.
His day of retribution video.
I will have my revenge against all of you.
And the manifesto he called My Twisted World.
You were the only one he didn't talk about wanting to kill.
And you'll hear from a survivor who looked him in the eye and lived to tell.
I've never actually looked in the face of the devil.
As well as the families of the victims. What do they want to say to him? Tonight, The Secret Life of Elliot Rodger.
How do you mourn a child whom others vilify?
Here now, David Muir and Elizabeth Vargas.
Tonight, a 2020 exclusive about something that was happening exactly 5 weeks ago at this very hour. An 8-minute drive-by massacre that was actually years in the making.
And Elizabeth, right here tonight, as you know, the father of that young killer speaking out only to Barbara Walters. As you know, Barbara retired from hosting The View, but said she'd return on special assignment for us. And tonight, she's back.
Well, I thank you, David and Elizabeth, because tonight this is special. It's a milestone. The very first time that a parent of a mass murderer has ever spoken on television. Peter Rodger tells us he is doing this to show other parents the warning signs that he missed and what changes we desperately need in the mental health care system so that no one has to go through the night that changed his life and so many others forever. On a quiet Memorial Day weekend, Peter Rodger and his wife were hurtling down the highway from Los Angeles to Santa Barbara. It was a 100-mile journey of terror.
I have to save my son. I have to get to Santa Barbara now.
Peter Rodger had just seen a disturbing video that his son Elliot had posted on YouTube.
I hate all of you. I can't wait to give you exactly what you deserve. Utter annihilation.
What went through your mind?
I can only describe like a really dark force of horrible
energy that hit me.
What were your fears for him?
I felt for his life. I didn't know what he was doing. And then suddenly he's saying he's going to do other things to other people. I was confused. I just wanted to go and find him and talk to him. I mean, we were driving up there not knowing what to do, trying to get information.
Peter Rodger was on a mission to prevent a massacre, but halfway to his destination, suddenly, he heard the reports.
Breaking news right now out of Isla Vista, where we are getting reports of a shooting.
There are unconfirmed reports that there may be as many as 3 victims, possibly a fatality.
The death toll could be climbing.
Shot fired.
Did you know that this was your son, the shooter?
No. God, good Lord, no. We were just driving up there in absolute fear for him and confusion.
Witnesses say a BMW with 2 people inside had people open fire and also run over people.
I was hearing, reports of a black BMW, and I was going, oh, no. And we were on the phone at the same time to the police, and they were saying, we don't have any information for you, no information.
The driver of that BMW was his 22-year-old son, Elliot.
Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown is calling the mass shooting the work of a madman, but say at this time, the threat appears to be over and the suspect is dead.
7 people died that night, including the shooter, Elliot Rodger. 13 others were hospitalized. For Peter Rodger, those memories are a waking nightmare. How are you?
Every night I go to sleep, I wake up and I think of those young men and young women that have died and that were injured and were terrorized. And my son did that.
When you wake up in the morning, what do you think?
It's like a reverse nightmare situation. When you go to sleep normally, you have...
Okay, let's talk about that so far. Panel. Can you imagine being this parent? Getting this type of news? Are you guys muted?
I was. I'm not now.
I am, yeah.
Okay. Can you imagine being that father going to be there for his son because he emailed everybody the manifesto, and people were telling him and his ex-wife about the manifesto and what he planned on doing. So if you've read the manifesto, it's very detailed, very descriptive. I mean, it's terrible to think, not only for Elliot, but for everybody involved. I mean, if you read that manifesto, you're going to see a very tormented soul, very troubled person. And I know that they focus on the fact of the sexual nature, but if you read that manifesto, you're going to see that it's going to be more than just that. Wouldn't you agree, guys?
Oh, yeah. Did they say when did his dad get that? How much time did he have to act? Or was it like after the fact?
No, he was on his way. Like,
Okay, so it was like, yeah.
Yeah, his dad lived probably 35, 40 minutes away, and he was on his way as the shooting was taking place.
Yeah, that's too late.
I didn't hear you, what?
Oh, I just said too late.
Can you say that again?
Am I?
You're at the bottom of the screen if you can't see yourself.
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Say what you said again, please.
I just said that it's just unfortunate that it was too late like that, because I know that he sent out. He planned it that way. I'm going to put up my video, send out the emails, and then I'm going.
Well, even before this, look, he was going to go kill his stepmom, kill his little brother, and then he had already killed his 2 roommates. and another person that was just a friend of the roommates. And that was kind of like the practice run. The police had came by probably, I would say 3 weeks before on a wellness check because his mother stumbled upon all his videos on YouTube that were talking about how much he hated women and the hatred he had toward everything that was going on. And she had a wellness check done on him. Well, at that point, he had guns and knives and everything all in his room. The police didn't come in because he convinced them that everything was okay. So they kind of said, well, just a college kid, you know, he's probably going through some stuff. And they took off. Little did they know he had an arsenal in there and a knife and everything else, and that led to this point.
That's the unfortunate thing. Like, I know it would be easy to like look at the mom in that situation, but he's over 18. Parents can't do anything. That mom did the only thing she could do in calling the authorities.
Right, right.
And then you can't blame them either because he convinced them. I don't know.
What were you going to say, Nina?
Well, I mean, I know that he also put out his retribution video to YouTube.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's just sad because he would. I'm not going to reference any other cases tonight. I mean, if y'all want to do the math on how it correlates to other crimes that we talk about and things of that nature, that's up to you. But, you know, he would drive around at night. He'd be videotaping couples. He would go to his favorite spot, and then he'd see people making out or whatever, and he'd be recording a video at the same time, like, oh, they ruined my spot, and this and that and the other, and they all need to die, and all this other stuff. I mean, it's like he became fascinated with the urge to annihilate couples, and especially females.
That's what
Oh yeah, I mean, I think there was one couple at a coffee shop that they infuriated him so much just because I think they were like holding hands or something that he actually like threw coffee on them.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, wow.
You're right. I mean, he would lose it at the slightest, you know, feeling of, you know, especially interracial couples. He did not like that at all.
Oh yeah.
He would, you know, any type of interracial couples, he went very descriptive in his manifesto about what he thought and how he felt about that. And he let it be known, you know, how can that, I mean, look at it like this. He called himself the Supreme Gentleman. So
Yep.
if you're the Supreme Gentleman, that means you're on top of everybody else. So, I mean, that's pretty high standards for someone who didn't even have a girlfriend, didn't have anybody that really liked him that way. And any kind of slightfulness that he got from any females, he would either start crying or start throwing a big old fit, and just terrible.
Yeah, he cut off a lot of friends for little things.
Well, I mean, you know, he also, I mean, with not only the incel mentality is the entitlement of what he felt he deserved and everything. And I think I had shared with Gage one time about him buying a lottery ticket. And he was so entitled to win that lottery that it infuriated him because, you know, he deserved that money. He deserved to be happy. He deserved to, and he just couldn't get it in his head of why he did not win that week.
Yeah. Well, let's listen a little more on what did Dad have to say, and we'll continue to discuss this.
Have a nightmare and you wake up and, oh, everything's okay.
Yeah.
Now I go to sleep. I might have a nice dream. And then I wake up and then slowly the truth of what happened dawns on me. And that is that my son was a mass murderer. And then I think about the victims, and I think about what he did. And I'm trying to process it.
But who was the young man behind the rampage, and why did he do it?
Hi, Elliot Rodger here.
Were there clues in the disturbing jigsaw of videos he left behind? And what were his 137-page so-called manifesto reveal about the private agony of a psychotic mind? Its title, My Twisted World.
This is the story of how I, Elliot Rodger, came to be. It is a story of a war against cruel injustice. This tragedy did not have to happen, but humanity forced my hand.
Elliot Rodger was born in London and was brought to America at the age of 5. His Malaysian-born mother, Lee Chin, was a unit nurse in the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. His father directed television commercials and worked on the hit film Hunger Games. In the beginning, Elliot had a seemingly normal childhood.
He was adorable. He would laugh so much that sometimes we were worried he would choke. It was really wondrous, those first 4-5 years of his life. It was wondrous.
You loved Elliot.
I loved Elliot.
Elliot loved you.
Yeah.
But at the age of 7, Elliot's parents got divorced. 1 year later, his father had remarried, this time to Moroccan-born Samaya Akabon, an actress who appeared in the Hollywood blockbuster Green Zone. It was during those years that 7-year-old Elliot began his long treatment in therapy. Why did you think he needed it?
When we realized he had social issues, we brought therapists in to try and help him integrate into society.
Did he have trouble with other children, with
Yes.
making friends? He did.
He had very few friends in elementary school because he was a very, 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 very shy boy. And we just felt that that was his issue.
Hey, Kim, have you seen those types of behaviors that he's talking about in the classroom based on your experiences?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I had a student just this past year that is very disturbing. Was very disturbing to me. Luckily, he's going to go to a special school next year because everybody sees it. But yep.
Can you give any examples without going and breaking their confidentiality?
So, what was the dad speaking to at that part?
He was talking about how Elliot didn't really interact with kids, and he didn't have a lot of friends. He was very
Okay.
shy.
Yeah, so I have seen kids that like they want the friends, but their actions are obnoxious. Like they would exhibit the opposite behaviors of what would attract friends and then wonder why they don't have friends.
Okay.
Quiet kids too. But I what I've noticed is like a lot of the quiet kids I saw were keeping to themselves because they wanted to keep to themselves. It wasn't the I want friends and I'm sad about it. It was not that.
How about you, Nina? Have you experienced any run-ins with younger children that exhibited that type of behavior?
I can say I haven't. No. I guess I've never seen anything like that. I haven't.
It's very predatory. Like once he became, like he was quote unquote normal until he started being exposed to his parents divorcing, his father marrying really quickly, seeing how his father was able to just jumped from one relationship to the other. So he thought, hey, Dad's a good looking guy, blah, blah, blah. So he started viewing the world through the wrong type of lenses, you know? Kim said this is why these types of kids need a speech pathologist and behaviorist at a young age for intervention. The father said they took him to therapy, but I don't know how the therapy went, you know? I wonder if he's going to stay here in a minute. So let's go ahead and see if he does.
On the surface, Elliot seemed destined for a life of success and privilege. Peter Rodger's work gave his son access to Hollywood's elite. From an early age, it was a world he longed to join.
My little 9-year-old self realized that there were hierarchies, that some people were better than others. Jealousy and envy. Those are two feelings that would dominate my entire life and bring me immense pain.
By any standard, the Rodger family was living the good life. But those tantalizing glimpses into Hollywood's inner circle would always leave Elliot resentful and wanting more. Did he blame you for the fact that he wasn't a rich kid?
He just had illusions of grandeur. Even if he couldn't make it himself, he wanted to feel in a position where we would somehow provide it for him.
The relationship that Elliot shared with his father had always been complicated. Peter Elliott was the Mount Everest his son could never reach. You are a very good-looking man. Did he realize that? Did that please him? Was he...
He was jealous of me, the way that I looked.
The shy young boy harbored fear and self-doubt. His parents moved him from school to school, hoping but never succeeding to help Elliot fit in. There was some question about whether Elliot was autistic.
He was never formally diagnosed, and there was a suggestion that he might have been high-functioning Asperger's. And, you know, these were because of traits. For instance, there was a certain OCD about him. There was a certain, you know, like he'd always put his plate in the same place. He'd like to wear the same clothes every day. Elliot really was a very high-functioning human being. If he was sitting here right now, you would think what a polite boy he was, but yet he had this thing going on inside of him.
What his parents didn't know was that Elliot, even at the age of 10, was hiding a secret that would someday transform a shy young child into a cold-blooded killer.
This is the horror story. This is the American horror story, or the world's horror story, is when you have somebody who on the outside is one thing, and on the inside is something completely different, and you don't see it.
Next, did his parents not see the warning signs hiding in plain sight?
There's a certain pattern.
And you missed it.
When 2020 returns. 2020 continues. Once again, Barbara Walters.
When the story about Elliot's shooting spree first broke, the videos and so-called manifesto he left behind provide a rare glimpse into a mind broken by mental illness.
Oh, check it out. There's me.
At first glance, Elliot Rodger seemed like any other college-age kid.
Look at how fabulous I look.
Bragging about designer clothes.
Worth $300. Giorgio Armani.
Posing for selfies scored to retro pop. But the path Elliot was walking took him to the dark side of his mind.
My problem is girls. I desire girls. The girls are not sexually attracted to me. It's not fair. It's not fair.
But why did those closest to him fail to see any warning signs when it seemed clear that Elliot was mentally disturbed? People have called your son evil. How would you describe Elliot?
Elliot was far from evil. Something happened to him. And then I think he became very mentally ill. What I don't get is we didn't see this coming. at all. None of us.
But there were clues hidden in those early years that Peter Rodger now admits he missed. The lonely young boy had grown into an introverted teenager. By the age of 13, he had walled himself into a cyber world. His constant companions, the characters in the video game World of Warcraft. In high school, Elliot was a loner, bullied by his peers. They threw food at him during lunch and shoved him into lockers.
I was an innocent, scared little boy trapped in a jungle full of malicious predators, and I was shown no mercy.
He was afraid of boys and girls.
He felt he had an inability to get along with them. And this is when we realized that he had a real fear of other human beings, of other kids his age.
Elliot fled from 2 high schools before finding refuge at a tiny 100-student school called Independence High, a school with a mission to help troubled children, like the boy they called our Elliot.
There was never a time in working with him or knowing him that I ever felt like his inability to interact socially would ever have led me to believe that this kind of rage was building inside of him. Never.
But the isolation hit a firestorm of frustration and anger. Its target during those teen years was sex.
Finding out about sex is one of the things that truly destroyed my entire life. Sex. The very word fills me with hate. I would always covet it. I would always fantasize about it, but I would never get it.
Elliot had always been fascinated and repelled by sex. His first glimpse of pornography horrified him.
I couldn't imagine human beings doing such things with each other. The sight was shocking and arousing. I was quite shaken for a few days.
Did you talk to Elliot about sex?
Yeah.
What did you say?
How it's so important to present yourself as a human being from the heart outwards and not to be weird. And I say weird because it is weird when you think girls are going to throw themselves at you.
As a teenager, he described his interest in girls, but he said, I'm quoting again, "There is no way I could ever get them. And so my starvation began." Did he talk about this?
He was always obsessive about this one issue.
Obsessive about which issue?
What do y'all think about that, guys? What do you think about that wording that the father is using? He's using the word obsessive. Elliot used the word craving. You know, we've talked about the differences between psychopaths and sociopaths. So, you know, whenever somebody is fixated on something, the urge, whether it be the urge to kill, the urge to, in his case, have a woman desire him, the urge to be smarter than everybody else, the urge. So what happens? Like in his case, it was building up and building up.
You have the background in the mental health industry. Where do you see, because if they had him in counseling, you know, there could have been medication. Other than that, how do you get at these deep-rooted issues that some people have?
Well, I work with individuals or kids his age, I guess, that when he was younger, that are fixated on drugs and alcohol, and their coping skills are lacking. There's some of them that are on the spectrum, you know, and they're harder to reach because, I mean, they're very stoic. Their affect is really flat. I tried to get this kid to laugh the whole time that I was with him, you know, counseling him. I didn't get a grimace. I didn't get nothing. No laughter, no smiles. Where did Nina go? Did she hop down? I just noticed that. Nina, come back.
Nina, come back.
Well, anyways, it's interesting that whenever you become fixated on something, no matter what it is, it could be wanting to be a rock star, wanting to be a rapper. Sometimes you have to not squash that dream, but you have to be realistic enough that you kind of give the child other choices. You give them other avenues just in case their dream of being a rapper or being a musician or whatever doesn't come into fruition. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. This is just such a tricky area when you're looking back after something happens, because there's so many pieces involved. The parents, the medical community that could have helped, but if Elliot himself wasn't talking and expressing anything to anybody, people aren't mind readers.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this: if
And I mean, in the time period leading up before he started posting his videos and all that stuff.
okay, so if the videos were him asking for help,
Oh yeah.
how did not any adult, anybody that was close to him, how did they not know he was troubled? Like his dad said, he didn't have a clue that he had that much anger built up in him. How do you not have a clue what's going on with your child? I mean, is that the generation that we're raising today?
Wasn't he making those videos when he was over 18?
I think he started maybe right after high school.
Yeah.
Right after high school. But still, I mean, even though you might not have a say in your kid's life, you still need to know if they're so delusional that they could be heading down the wrong path.
If they let you. I mean, he used his real name, right? He used his real name on those videos?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's, yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find one. Let's go ahead and start this one up again. Let me see
I'm
if
not
I
being
can
a
find one.
girlfriend. But here's the thing. According to this journal and according to his acts, he was already planning heinous things in response to this emotional thing in his head that none of us could really see.
Elliot was tormented by the sight of pretty girls and public affection. Even his favored haven at the Griffith Park Observatory became a reminder of failure.
I don't understand you girls. It's like your sexual attraction is flawed. It's perverted. You're attracted to the wrong kind of guy. You should be attracted to guys like me. Beautiful, magnificent guys.
I saw sex as an evil and barbaric act, all because I was unable to have it. This was the major turning point. If I can't have it, I will destroy it.
If Elliot had had the sex that he says he wanted so much, would things have been different?
I don't think so, because I think he had a condition. He had a very seriously advanced mental condition, and I think that whatever would have happened, even if he got a girlfriend, wouldn't have been able to have made him into the happy human being we wanted him to be.
Did you take him to Las Vegas hoping that he would lose his virginity?
No, I suggested to him that perhaps, if his blocking point was having sex, then perhaps, in Las Vegas, there might be an opportunity where it's legal for him to have sex.
But he didn't want to go?
He didn't want to go because he wanted to be loved for his heart. Retrospectively, I think it wouldn't have helped at all.
It wouldn't have?
No, because retrospectively, I realized how sick he was.
But you know, you can have these same things and not have another Elliot. You can have kids who are frustrated and don't have girlfriends or boyfriends or, you know.
No, but when you put the combination together, there's a certain pattern. And I think it's important to talk about those patterns.
And you missed it.
Yeah, too right, I missed it. I wish I could turn the clock back for the victims, for our family, for all the scars out there.
By the time Elliot reached his 18th birthday, the shy young boy had vanished, leaving only resentment and anger. Too terrified to approach young women, it was easier to hate them.
That's a problem that I intend to rectify.
Let me address something that's going on in the chat right now. You're talking about the gym. He did go to the gym. He started working out. He started, every time he would try to do something to change the way he looked, he would dye his hair blonde. He would, early on in life, he started skateboarding. He started doing all these things just to try to fit in. And what ended up happening is it didn't change the outcome. Like his dad said, he thought the world was going to come to him instead of him going to the world. It's kind of like he thought, if I bleach my hair blonde, all these girls are instantly going to flock to me. If I become a skater, all these girls, popular girls, are going to flock to me. Didn't happen. He got the BMW. He thought, all these popular girls, sorority girls, are going to flock to me. It didn't happen. So, I get what y'all are saying. It's very, like his dad is talking about the mental health. I'm curious to see what kind of disorder he had. Like, was he able to be cured of that, or was it just uncured and unmedicated?
It doesn't even sound like he was diagnosed with anything. And I've been through this with someone close to me that I was in charge of their care. And, when you go in and just talk to somebody and they observe you for a couple days and then they just label you, you get labeled with something. I wish there was testing. I wish they would do brain scans. I wish they could do something more systematic to come up with, more medical ways, because it's too hard. It's too hard and things slip through the cracks and parents don't know. It's easy to blame the parents. It's easy to blame the parents, but that kid was in front of teachers. He was in front of medical doctors. He was in front of all those people that saw his videos online. It's a lot of people.
And all people did to him online would just ridicule him and make fun of him.
Yeah,
even more. So,
that's horrible.
Let's go ahead and watch a little more.
I, in all my magnificence and power, I will not let this fly. It's an injustice that needs to be dealt with.
Next, planting the seeds of a master plot for his day of retribution.
Look at me. I'm gorgeous. But you girls don't see it.
And maybe the biggest miss of all that led to the massacre when 2020 returns. We return to...
Okay, we have a question. Can you explain misogynist terrorism? That is basically, misogyny is the policing of a person's behavior. So the misogynist would be like trying to control their hatred for females. It's like, it's very, like Nina said, where'd you go? It's intertwined with the incel subculture. They're actually a watch terrorist group. I mean, there's people that follow this individual even after he's gone. It's almost like he became a martyr for that subculture.
To the secret life of Elliot Rodger. Once more, Barbara Walters.
For Elliot Rodger, Santa Barbara was the picture-perfect version of his ideal life.
There were hot blonde girls walking around everywhere. If I can't get laid there, then there is no hope for me at all.
At 19, Elliot was stuck in a cycle of isolation and depression. His parents thought college life would give him a fresh start. You thought that he would have the coping skills to live alone.
I thought that by putting him out there and giving him independence and integrating him into a normal society would very quickly help develop the skills that I thought was lacking in him.
Did you inform anyone, either at the college or the parents of his roommates, that he had mental problems?
I didn't see any reason to, because as far as I was concerned, he wasn't a threat to himself or anybody else.
But left to his own devices, Elliot Rodger's behavior would soon escalate from strange to savage. Simon Astaire is a longtime friend of Peter's.
I got a sense of a boy who was unable to communicate.
So there were signs, you thought, of maladjustment?
He was unable to engage, and it was difficult to engage. And I saw lots of people trying to engage with him.
I don't understand why you're so repulsed by me.
Soon the old resentments would return. Enraged by the sight of young lovers, he acted out for the first time, throwing coffee on one kissing couple at Starbucks.
I had never struck back at my enemies before, and I felt a small sense of spiteful gratification for doing so.
Feeding on that fulfillment, his thoughts began to take a more diabolical and dangerous turn. The day of retribution had been born.
It was only when I first moved to Santa Barbara that I started considering the possibility of having to carry out a violent act of revenge as the final solution to dealing with all the injustices I've had to face at the hands of women and society.
His anger, now targeted at women, drew him to misogynistic websites, online forums where he once wrote, "Start envisioning a world where women fear you." He sent you links to these websites.
I was disgusted and I called him up and I said, Elliot, why are you going on these websites?
Yeah.
This is negative, this is evil, and you shouldn't go on that.
But that didn't work.
It didn't work. And I had no idea that he had such an inbred hatred, this misogyny.
But despite his deepening hatred of women, Elliot told his father that he was obsessed about losing his virginity.
I would say to him, there is no shame at all in not losing your virginity at a later age. Some people never do. Some people go into the church and choose chastity.
He would say, "I can't get a girlfriend"?
He would say, they're never going to like me because I'm not 6'2", a jock, sporty guy. He did say to me once, I wish I wasn't half Asian. I never realized that he was so racist.
Thinking, why aren't I white?
Correct.
Elliot's life had become a volatile mixture of desire and denial. And last summer, yet another sign of violence. Frustrated after being ignored by girls at a party, he tried to shove them off a 10-foot ledge.
He got into an altercation verbally with a couple of girls, and then he was picked on, and then he was thrown off the balcony.
But it turns out that he was trying to push girls off the ledge.
In 2020 hindsight, I can imagine that might have been the case, and that upsets me to the core of my heart. He was such a good liar. He was such an incredible liar.
Perhaps Elliot was even lying to himself, repeatedly refusing the advice of therapists, at least one of whom had recommended medication.
But Elliot would say, I'm not sick, I'm not going to take that. And because he was of an adult age, he refused to not only take that medication, but refused to go back to see that particular doctor.
Okay, that kind of gives the dad's perspective. You know, being an adult, he just said it right there. He said, you know, being of adult age, he could have, you know, he didn't have to take the medication. He could have refused it, which he did. Let's watch a little bit of Elliot's perspective. These are some of Elliot's videos, and let's talk about this here in a minute.
Rodger's YouTube videos that he released before committing his attack, but there were many videos he didn't publish that were on his innocent people. Elliot Rodger was bad. Okay, now that that's over with. So I'm going to show you his new videos in chronological order. A few of the videos are kind of boring, so what I'll do for those videos is I'll put a timestamp in the answer. Well, it turns out that Elliot Rodger actually mentions this in his manifesto. The weekend that I visited home was quite an eventful one, and I had been looking forward to it for some time. On Sunday,
We don't want to hear all that.
Revealing clothes, showing off their sexy legs, all these hot, beautiful blonde girls.
So this is interesting. You can tell he looks down on all those hot blonde girls who wear revealing outfits. He thinks they're sick, evil, and whatever, yet he still wants them. And not only that, but they're all he wants. Women who aren't hot blonde girls or who don't wear revealing outfits are invisible to him. In his journal, he talks about how he would never be attracted to a girl who was plain looking, which kind of restricts his options, doesn't it? Maybe he could have found a woman who was more average looking, someone who was kind of shy and geeky like him, maybe even someone who was half Asian like he was and who knew what that was like. But no, he only wants white women, he only wants women who are blonde, and he only wants women who are very attractive. It's like the Katy Perry concert. He has this idea of what the best thing to have is. He only wants that, and because he can't have that, the world is unfair and horrible, and he's miserable and hates everybody who does have that.
And yet they go for absolute obnoxious pricks instead of guys like me who actually deserve them. I'm a nice guy, but these girls go for bad boys. You know, I'm going to show you all these popular kids enjoying their awesome lives while I've had to suffer in loneliness for the last 2 years. So yeah, right now I'm like at the very end of the street, right by the beach. And here we go. This is the quiet part. We'll be approaching some college students soon, walking about in their little cliques, acting as if they're better than everyone else. The sight of them just pisses me off. It fills me with fury and rage.
So this part where he says all these cliques acting like they're...
So let me ask you, Kim, watching that, what do you think? What do you think watching that?
My thought was, why didn't you like join a club or something? Like do something to meet some people instead of just holding this hatred. But I guess that comes into his whatever condition I think he had. Because a typical person wouldn't think that way, right?
Yeah.
You would do something to join a club or hang out with people in your apartment or something. There's someone out there for everybody, right?
Yeah, but one of the things that we've mentioned, or I've mentioned on my channel, it starts with voyeurism, and basically he's being a voyeur right now. He's even recording. He's even recording it, so he's been watching these people for a while.
Yeah,
he has that intensity, that anger, and that frustration. So that voyeuristic behavior is the beginning of all, like people don't believe it. They think that, it is what it is, but it's actually a lot more dangerous than people give it reference to.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to be coming from a fixation, right?
Yeah.
He's fixated on that idea, and then that's how he's acting out on it.
Yeah.
They're better than everyone else. When you see him approach some of these people later in the video, they're not doing anything. They're just existing, and he just assumes that they think this way. We saw a lot of these same kinds of assumptions in the last video I made as well.
See, look at these douchebags right here. Go around in their groups acting superior.
You know what comes to mind while I'm watching this? I'm wondering how more prevalent this is on college campuses. Like how many people actually have that deranged mindset where they actually drive or walk around observing other people that they don't have any correlation with, and they think all these things that really are not reality.
Yeah.
Like you just saw a group of boys walking by a trash can, and what did he say? Look at these douchebags, all in their cliques. So he is reenacting thoughts that others have given him in his past. The bullying, all this other stuff. And I know a lot of people don't believe in the, as they call it, psychobabble stuff, but you know what? All this does have a correlation. And if you really study it, it does manifest into people's reality that have mental health issues or issues with superiority, which obviously he did. You know, he believed he was supposed to be the one that got the girl that was supposed to be riding around with him in his BMW, the blonde, you know, whatever.
So look at all these popular people partying, enjoying their lives, while I've had to suffer. Yeah. They would never invite me to join them. I've lived here for 2 years and I've never been invited to a party. See, look at these assholes.
Wow.
See this. Did you just see that? That guy was walking with such a hot girl. See all these people here. Young, hot, blonde sluts walking around. All these beautiful girls who would reject me if I ever said a word to them. I hate them all.
Okay, so Elliot Rodger said earlier that.
What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. Like,
what does Carlos think about this? Where is Carlos?
he's doing work.
Oh,
He has
okay.
presentations he has to get ready.
Yeah.
I don't know. Carlos and I relate very personally to this. We've gone through a lot of things like this, so a little triggering, you know, but yeah, I just, until we figure out a healthcare system where we can identify and treat, these things are going to keep happening.
You know, Chad, I was asking you guys a couple lives ago what a creepy dude was to you. Is this the definition of a creepy dude? Kim, I think y'all were in that live. Do you think this is a creepy guy? If you saw this guy riding around with a video camera videotaping people.
Yeah, that's creepy behavior for sure, but he's kind of hiding himself from everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Let's watch some more. Goodness.
That nobody's ever invited him to a party and how unfair that is. And now he's talking about all the gen around the town of Isla Vista, and it never worked, and he didn't understand why. Now, that's a very sad situation for a young man to be in. Luckily, Elliot Rodger had social skills count. He ended up deciding it was because all women were bad. So that paints Elliot Rodger's misery here in a different light. As sorry as we might feel for him for not knowing how to ask women out, he had opportunities to get help for that, and in his arrogance chose to disregard them all. So it was kind of his own fault.
You're an asshole.
Well, that was nice of him. You can see he's getting bolder and escalating his behavior, although you may have heard his voice waver a bit when he did that.
He said you're an asshole.
You can see how his behavior escalates.
Exactly, deception, exactly. Hey, Kelly.
All these people think they're better than me. I'll show them.
It's worth noting that this video was made a month before his attack, so he was already planning to commit it at this point. This video was recorded on April 22nd, 2014 at around 7 p.m. in a parking lot near Lake Los Caneros Park in the city of Goleta.
Just took a nice walk in the park. Check out that sunset. Damn, that's a nice sunset. Spectacular. I love how it shines in my car.
This video was recorded around 8 minutes later. Elliot gets more poetic and philosophical in this one.
I like this one. That's why I'm showing this one. I'll spell it up.
Hey, Elliot Rodger here. Today I'm at Sarania Park. Just took a nice long hike up in those hills. I would say this is one of the most significant places of my life. I grew up here. My parents used to always take me here when I was a kid. Back when my life was happy and fair. Back when I thought the world was fair. How naive I was. I was only an innocent child. And now, here I am. After living a horrible, unjust life. A wasted youth, deprived of any sort of fun or enjoyment or pleasure, all because females were never attracted to me. Right now I'm wearing my Hugo Boss shirt. It's one of my favorite button-down shirts. This is a shirt I wore to the premiere of The Hunger Games. I look fabulous. And yeah, I did walk on the red carpet on that premiere. It was quite an experience indeed.
Indeed.
The sunlight's about to fade, so I'll end this video soon. Yeah. Childhood.
So I found this video interesting. He does that kind of thing they do in infomercials where it starts with some guy doing something and then he turns around and goes, "Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. I was just thinking about how much I like my new penis enlargement pills. You can get them too for $49.99 plus shipping and handling." It's campy and it's silly, and it's probably a result of Elliot Rodger not knowing how to act and getting inspiration from TV and movies like he did in his other videos. And the character he's trying to about things like this. It was a vicious cycle of isolation, rage, and despair that led him to the point that we're about to see. This video was recorded in a parking lot at Goleta Beach Park on May 22nd, 2014 at around 7:29 p.m. What's interesting is that Elliot Rodger's last video, the Day of Retribution video, was recorded in the same location around 13 minutes after this and was shortly before he went on his attack. On the following day, May 23rd, 2014, Elliot Rodger stabbed his 3 roommates to death, then went to Starbucks and got a triple vanilla latte. He then went back to his apartment and uploaded the Day of Retribution video to YouTube before driving to the sorority house to commit the rest of his attack. This video was his first version of the Day of Retribution video. The one we've all seen was actually his second attempt at making it. You can tell he's memorized a script for it, and I'm guessing he decided to redo it because he didn't get the presentation quite right in this one, and because people kept going by his car and messing the video up.
Hi, Elliot Rodger here. Well, this is it. This is my last video. It all has to come to this. Tomorrow is the Day of Retribution. The day that I will finally be able to have my revenge against humanity. Against all of you. For the last 8 years of my life, I've been forced to endure an existence of loneliness, rejection, and unfulfilled desires, all because girls have never been attracted to me. They gave their love, sex, and affection to other men, but never to me. I'm 22 years old, and I'm still a virgin. I've been through college for more than 2 years. College is the time when everyone experiences sex, and yet I'm still a virgin. I've never even interacted with any girls. Girls have ignored me all my life. And I am going to punish all of them for it. I don't know why you girls are not attracted to me. I'm the perfect guy. I'm magnificent. I'm the guy you should be going for, not those obnoxious slobs you love so much. I don't know why you're not attracted to me. I don't know what you don't see in me. But I'll make sure you all pay for it. You've deprived me of love, sex, and affection all my life. And that's a declaration of war. If it's war you want, then war you shall have.
I figured this quote was taken from something, and after doing
What do y'all think? Hey, Carlos, welcome. Let me unmute you.
All right, sorry, I'm unmuted. And Nina's back. She doesn't have the link.
Okay, let me give her the link.
Hey, 12 gauge.
Hey.
I got some work to do tonight, but I was listening actually in the other room, and I just wanted to come down for a few minutes and say hello and maybe offer my opinion. But mostly, I know that this is triggering to Kim. So I think part of me is coming here to maybe just check in on her because we have Tim has kind of talked around a little bit that we've experienced, some things like this, and everything that this young man is exhibiting, we've seen some form of. So, it is kind of triggering to us. And, I have a couple comments. I can't stay too long, got a big project to do for tomorrow, but, a couple points that I have. One is anybody in this situation, this kid, Elliot, I think he's asking for some type of assistance in all the wrong way. And he needs to, he should have almost reached out, and asked for the help that he needed. But most importantly, he had to want to make the changes that were necessary to integrate himself into society. And I never heard anything that he was willing to make those things. It's always everybody else. My parents did this. These girls aren't attracted to me. This caliber of girl is not attracted to me. People have bullied me. It's always, putting it off on somebody else. And, when we went through a very similar situation, we would constantly be like, hey, let's go to the doctors. I don't want that. I don't need that. What I need is for everybody around me to change what they're doing so I can be accepted as exactly who I am and get the things that I deserve, whether they were socially acceptable or not. That was the mindset. And, so part of me feels, I know that the father going on 2020 is going to get, he got a little backlash. The parents will always get some backlash. But you try so hard as a parent to give and provide everything that, your child or your loved one or your friend or whomever, whatever they need, and they reject it. And unless something happens, it is always, well, you should have known, you should have known. We knew. We know.
We knew.
And we still have tried to do everything possible. I mean, this woman called in a tri-state area every mental health facility she could
in 3 states.
In 3 states to get the help that we needed. And we were rejected for some of the craziest reasons. So I understand the parents' struggle. And I know this isn't about that.
Right.
That's fine. Yeah, you're doing great.
Yeah. But what this is to us, and that's why I wanted to support Kim here really quick, because I know this is somewhat triggering. And, we went through this journey. It was a very difficult journey. Places where we thought we could get help, places like the FBI, the police force, children's services, our local hospital.
Yep.
All those places, systematically in one way or another, let us down or turned us away. And so, this person, Elliot here really took this to, the place that nobody ever wants their child, their friend, whatever to go to. But so you had mentioned earlier, just before I came down, you're saying, these people are walking by and I wonder if they know some guys in the car, stalking them in some way.
Being voyeuristic.
Yeah, and being voyeuristic in their lives and condemning their lives. And I can tell you, yes, that happens. I've seen it. And there is a lot of that going on. So the percentage is probably not low. The percentage is probably not low.
You mean of people
people doing that, of just being in envy of someone else's life, wanting to have things that, if I'm 5'2", I'm probably not going to be the star basketball player on the high school team,
Right.
And if I'm like me, I'm 6'6", and if I'm 6'6", I'm not going to be the lightweight wrestling champion of the high school team.
Right.
But with those physical restrictions come, I am going to blame society. I'm going to blame other people. These are not my problems. You, as my parents, may have given me these problems. You, as my teacher or my counselor, might have given me these problems, but I didn't put these on myself. And that's, you're speaking about so much here, but that was kind of my little take. And I wanted to support Kim here for a little bit too, because I know.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I'm glad you came up. I mean, I like when both of you are up here and talking and bouncing off each other. Y'all have a good chemistry going on. I like your channel and I like what you're doing.
Thank you.
Good luck on your presentation, man. Good luck on your presentation. Whatever that is.
Yeah, no, it's a doozy. I appreciate it. And, if you ever have another one of these coming up, hopefully I can join in full, but work's been
I'm having one on Saturday on Coburger. Well, is it Saturday? Maybe it's tomorrow. I don't know. I've tried to do lives all week, so
she's taking me out for Father's Day
this week. Yeah, but we'll get together again, I'm sure.
Thank you very much. Great to talk to you, and love the work that you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, Nina, welcome back. What happened?
Sorry about that. I got called to a
Okay. So, Nina, I asked Kim this question, so I'm going to ask you. When he was cruising around, just kind of like, saying he screamed at that one kid, asshole, or this, that, and the other. What would your perception have been to a guy doing that to other people, and you don't even know them? I mean, would you feel that individual was kind of socially inept or awkward? What would you think?
Boy, I hate to ask you to repeat that, but I pulled up in the driveway and my internet connected to my Wi-Fi and it went all honky.
I get that a lot. So I'm ready for it. So when he was cruising around, and when he said to that one couple, he said, "You're an asshole," to the guy.
Right.
He doesn't even know the gentleman, but yet he's telling the camera, "There's another douchebag, so to speak, with somebody that I can't have."
Right.
What's your thought on that?
Well, my thought on that, and I mean, this is just my opinion, is in the incel subculture, they have what they call Chad and Stacy's. And Chad and Stacy's are like the jocks and all the perfect girls and the perfect guys, And so if you see that a Chad and a Stacy, then they're automatic douchebags or assholes or, because he's already got that built-in hatred of those type people.
But the warped mentality is his delusion was saying that everybody was perfect but him.
Right.
He had such a warped delusion that the world was all against him, and there's no way that he could have been able to.
But that's that victim mentality. I mean, if you'll remember, I think one of his last sentences is, "I am the true victim of all this." I mean, during everything he had done, he was the true victim.
Right. But really, was he? I mean,
I think in a way, I mean, I can't sit there and say that my heart doesn't go out to him in some kind of way because he was so messed up, But at some point, we all have to take responsibility for our own actions. Now, was he so mentally gone that maybe he could not accept his part, you know. I mean, isn't that like true narcissism and true gaslighting and true victim? I mean, being a victim and playing the victim card. I mean, me being from addiction, the first thing I did to get into my recovery was throw away my victim card. Because, you know, when we're in active addiction, we're always the victim, you know.
Right.
And in order to go forward, we always have to get rid of that victim card.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you on that. And I'm not gonna say what you said was not true or anything like that. I'm gonna put it in a different perspective. Okay, let's say that like mental illness is something that is uncontrollable by the person, and they might not even know that they have it. You know, it might come out of nowhere and intensely keep getting worse and worse and worse. Even though they can function well in society, it doesn't mean that they can. He was copying what he thought was quote unquote normal. He would change his hair, like I said. He would change his clothing. You talked about how much his shirt, how much he loved that shirt because it had sentimental value because he was on the red carpet with it. How much his what was it, Giorgio Armani shades, and he ended up losing those shades before he went on his day of retribution. And you would have thought that he lost his best friend. I mean, he literally in the in his manifesto he described it that he sat and got depressed over it. He was not himself. Became physically sick because he lost his favorite shades. So think about when I was talking about the sociopath versus psychopath. The psychopath has ownership of things. They don't have any value on people. So whenever you value your shirt, you value your BMW, you value your video camera, you value your Starbucks, you value all this, but you lose value in humanity, such as look at that slut right there, look at that asshole, look at this and that and the other. It loses a sense of having empathy toward being able to hurt those type of people. Does that make sense at all? I
What do
hope
you
it does.
What do you think, 12 gauge, about? I had a therapist tell me this one time that they know right from wrong. How do you think that fits into it?
They know right from wrong based on their perception of what right and wrong is. You can tell me what your right is and you're wrong, and I can tell you, well, that's not my right and wrong. My right and wrong could be totally different, inverted, twisted, turned around.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because we have this ability as human beings to think sometimes that because there is a set right and wrong and rules and rewards and consequences and all this stuff, that everybody is the same way. It's not.
Clearly.
Heather and Twiz and some of you others have some awesome statements. I'm sorry, I'm not neglecting you. I'm just trying to do a bunch here. He had issues, but much of this was learned or picked up because of not having the right people care. He needed help way early, and the help he got was convenient from his parent. You know, also, that's very true, Heather. Also, in the manifesto, it talks about his mother going against everything that his stepmom was trying to instill in him. She was trying to get him out of the video game. She would try to do this and that and the other. He would tell his stepmom, well, my mom said I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. You know?
His mom played major games when it came to the co-parenting and stuff like that. I mean, you know, if she got mad, she would keep him away from the dad, you know. And I mean, I'm sure that we've all been through stuff like that. I know I've seen friends go through it and stuff. I think, is it called parent isolation or something like that, where they like, and the mom played major games with that.
Yeah.
And, I think that really messed him up because he like idolized his father. And so when his father got married, and I think he felt like his father was putting the stepmom ahead of him, because there was one time that he went to their house and he didn't knock. He just walked in. And so the stepmom, to teach him a lesson, made him go back outside and was telling him, you go back outside and you knock on the door.
Right.
And he refused, and it turned into this big, huge fight. And him and his dad didn't speak for a long time because his dad backed up the stepmom. But they were just trying to teach him those manners and the right way to respect things, But because it was coming from the stepmom, of course, it was his dad choosing her over him.
Well, think about this a little bit. I don't know about you guys, but I've known some friends that struggled, that were labeled poor and all this, that, and the other. And, I've shared, we didn't really have a lot of money growing up because my parents were trying to go through school and all this, that, and the other. But you don't realize that until other people tell you you're that. You get what I'm saying? Like, you don't know you're poor. You always have, you always have enough that, it seems like the family's pretty happy and this, that, and the other, until the kids in school start making fun of your shoes, your clothes, the way, all that stuff. Well, it appears with him that once his parents divorced and his dad started struggling and couldn't send the child support money, and his real mom had to move out of the expensive houses and this, that, and the other, it's almost like he resented his dad for creating an environment for him that he felt that he was better than. Does that make sense?
Yes, but it's also, that also goes another way too, because, did his dad really not pay child support? His dad was a wealthy filmmaker. That's where his entitlement of money and the, everything being surrounded by money came from.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they divorced and his mom was just going to be this normal income, she was dating this guy that was a millionaire, and he asked her, is she going to marry him? And she said, no. And he said, yes, you owe that to me. And so she married him. And that's how he got his BMW. It was the stepdad's BMW that got passed down to him.
Yeah. I mean,
So
go ahead, Kim.
Okay. So there are lots of families that have these types of issues. Kids grow up in dysfunctional, neglectful families all the time, and they don't turn into mass murderers.
Right.
To me, it is and I will die on this hill. It is like the parents could have asked for help. I know we want to say the parent should have. The parents could ask for all the help in the world. That help that kids like this need doesn't exist unless you're like super, super rich and can afford private long-term care facilities. I literally looked it up. It's $30,000. Like, I think it was for the month, for private long-term care for people with serious issues like this. Like, clearly this kid, and I don't think this is learned thinking, in my opinion. I think it's his manifest.
I think he was wired wrong.
He was what? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And how do you get to the bottom of that? And how do you help that? The help for it is not out there. It's for that severe of something.
You're saying a lot right there, because you know what? A lot of times you spend all this money and the kid or the adult still comes out, they're good for a little while, and then they relapse.
Yeah.
Because it's not an environment in which they were living. Like, they were living in a structured environment. If it's inpatient, they learn all this stuff, And then once they get out, they go right back to the environment in which they left. So you can't go back to the same place you got sick. Before long, you're going to get sick again and even be sicker because your immune. You get what I'm saying? The analogy, because you haven't been exposed to that life. You've been sheltered away in treatment somewhere. Now you're back. You're going to get back sicker than you were when you left. So, it's sad. I mean, even the kids that I work with, their parents come in, they're wanting a miracle, just lock them up, just lock them up, just do this, just do that. Well, how's that going to help somebody with emotional problems? How's that going to help somebody that is obviously screaming out for help, but yet you're just wanting to lock them up because they're breaking the law or breaking rules, or you can't handle them? You'd be shocked.
Oh, you're muted.
Take them. I can't do nothing with them. That's the worst thing a parent could ever say about their kid. Pawn them off on somebody else and say, take them. I can't do nothing with them. I've tried and I've tried. Well, you can't do nothing with them because you're not willing to learn something different than what you're doing. And I'm not blaming the parent, okay? I'm not blaming parents. I'm just saying that sometimes the parents need to educate themselves on the newer coping strategies rather than the old school ways of parenting, because that's not effective in today's.
Yes.
You're muted.
I mean, taking all their stuff. You know what happens in the schools? One of their little buddies brings a burner phone that they can use all day long to get on social media or text their other friends, and then they hide that burner phone for the next day. So you taking their phones or their tablets or their this and that and the other is really not doing anything.
Okay, I'm gonna, I'm gonna say something. Okay, and exactly what you're saying. But as far as parenting goes, I mean, everybody knows that I lost my son to IV meth use. Now, the thing about it is, for a long time, I blamed myself for that until I finally realized God didn't take my son. I didn't take my son. My son's free will took my son.
Right.
And until my son wanted help, when my son wanted help? When he was laying in the hospital.
Oh no, Nina. What happened?
Come back. Come
No.
back.
I wanted to hear that.
We'll wait on her to come back.
Yeah.
There she is.
Okay.
But so, I mean, it's sort of, to me, it's sort of kind of the same thing, because David was in such the throes of addiction, he did not realize that he needed that help. So somebody like Elliot, maybe in the throes of being the INCEL and the mental state that he was at, he couldn't reach out for help. So what do you do in a case like that? Unfortunately, my son's dead and Elliot's dead.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Nina. And you said it exactly the way I was meaning it too. That's exactly what I was trying to say. I agree with that.
I mean, sometimes there's nothing that can be done. I mean, and unfortunately, in like Elliot's case, there are now 6 others that are dead. So, and what, 14 others injured?
Yeah.
So, thank God my son didn't take anybody with him, but, Elliot did. So, it's a double-edged sword, because what are you going to do? Lock them up? I mean, how do you lock them up if they're adults and nobody's understanding what's going on?
Exactly. You're muted.
Okay, this individual says he lived in the area at the time and knew many of the officers involved in this spree. Nina, I'm so sorry. I truly believe addiction is a disease. We're behind you, Nina. We understand that we could never totally know how you feel or you felt. You know, it's sad. And that's what I'm trying to say is we don't know what it's like to live in somebody's hell. They could
Right.
walk around with a smile on their face. They could tell you, hey, I'm good, this, that, and the other. You can't save someone from themselves. It's just sad. I mean, there's so many people that sit across from me and, you know, you can suggest things and you can try and you can try and try. It isn't until they understand it and it becomes their own idea and they start doing it with consistency that things ultimately change. And that's the sad part of everything we're talking about, whether it be true crime, whether it be addiction, whether it be mental health. Many people want a quick fix, and unfortunately, it doesn't happen that quick because a lot of people spend a lot of years getting sick. You know?
Yep. You have to be a willing participant.
Yes, you have to be present.
I like that. I like that. You know, I hope that I know when it happened, Nina, I didn't know you. I hope when it happened that you were able to heal from the guilt that plagued you. Like you just said, you thought it was something you did as a parent. You know?
I'll be honest with you. My son died of an overdose that took 5 days. He went into the hospital on a Friday. He had no heart function on his right side. He had 16% heart function on his left side. And he laid in that hospital bed and he had no tubes, no anything. He had his little heart monitor on, just looked like he was sitting up in the hospital bed. And it never hit me that my son was dying. You know, I mean, as a mother, who's it ever going to hit like that? You know, I mean, I'm sitting here for 5 days talking to my son, you know, having conversations, writing his son's letters, you know, thank God I thank God that he gave me those 5 days, but then what a curse it was for my son also, just not knowing when it was going to happen. But yes, I got to say my I love yous. I got to spend every minute I could with him. And I was very close to relapse myself because of it. I had been clean 7 years at the time. And at the time, I felt like there's no sense in getting high because I can't get high enough to fight this. There's no way I can, you know, I'm not going to disrespect David's memory. I'm not going to, you know. So I went through it and I got through it. And then here came the guilt and the regrets. That is what almost drove me to relapse. And I found TikTok. And believe it or not, I found a recovery community on TikTok and I started telling David's story. And I realized that my son's death would reach more people than his life. And now I tell his story to give his death purpose.
I love that.
And that's what healed me from my own guilt and everything, is I'm honoring him.
It's tough. It's tough, Tina. It's never easy. And you know, you found your outlet and you continue to carry the message, and you know that takes a lot of strength. You know, I saw something that you posted about what somebody said, you know, and I'm not trying to put your business out there, but
Oh no.
I just want you to know that for every person that has something smart to say about what we do on these lives and how we present them and stuff like that. You know, what are they doing? They're just sitting back watching while we're actually doing something. You know, we're trying to make a difference. However,
You're
we
talking
know
you're
how.
talking about you're talking about the hillbilly meth addict comment.
Yes, that
You
was awesome.
know, the thing about it is the guy that did that, I responded, but then I went back and deleted both of them because my response was, you didn't even put it on the Drunk Turkey Show video. You put it on Seth Rogers' video. So you don't even know what video you're putting your comment on. And as
Right.
far as a meth addict, yes. No, I am not an ex meth addict. I am a recovering meth addict.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no X to it. I'm one mistake from being an active meth addict. One mistake. Okay.
Yeah.
Hillbilly. Yep. I have a Southern accent and I'm from Alabama. So I am a hillbilly recovering meth addict. And I'm proud of it because it makes me the person I am.
Well, you know, no explanation needed. You sound like a wonderful soul that's made it through hell. Like I said earlier, we
right.
don't know what somebody's hell is in between their ears, especially if they don't talk about it. You know, sometimes that hell is more than they can handle. And what they know to do is just what they've always done. You know, I believe that Elliot recording those things, even some of the things he was saying, those were his ways of understanding reality. Somebody mentioned his dad was a filmmaker, so maybe, and here's a speculation, maybe his way of relating to the world was narrating his reality.
Yes.
Nobody heard it.
And
Nobody
that's it.
took it
That was
serious.
his reaching out.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And you know, it's sad. It's sad that somebody didn't say, hey, it's sad that he wasn't on a live and, you know, he didn't have somebody in the audience saying, "Hey,
Right. Yeah.
he needs somebody. He needs help." It's kind of like I've put a lot of personal stuff out there on my lives, and if any point that y'all see that I needed some help, I'd hope you call me on it. You know what I mean? Because that's what I hope that I would do for you if I noticed that you were in a bad place. I would call on you or check up on you and keep at it until I figured out that you were in a safe place.
Right. Right. But
But that didn't. Go ahead.
a lot of people don't notice stuff like that.
Oh, true.
I mean, I think that comes from, you know, the world today is just all about me. And I'm not talking about people in the chat because we have a wonderful community that, you know, cares about one another and everything.
Right.
But if you have to admit that, the world today, it's a cold world out there.
Yeah,
It is.
self-centered. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
But yet they're the first one to denounce Elliot.
Right.
They basically do the same thing Elliot does. How many selfies do they take? How many videos do they take? I mean, they say all these awful things about Elliot, but yet if they looked at their own lives, they probably do some of the same stuff. They talk about the same racist stuff. They talk about this, that, and the other. They're probably just as guilty as this individual who's no longer here to defend himself. Okay, bullets, beauty, brawn, and bling. That's hard to say all at once. I missed a lot of this live, but Elliot Rodger was getting help. He had therapists and someone that called on him a few times. Good to know. We're not talking about that case in here. Come on, we're talking about Elliot Rodger right now.
I do have to say, when he talked about the Alpha Phi sorority, though, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to incorporate it in that other case.
Yeah.
But I want to take a break from that case because as I was listening That was as I was listening to Elliot read his own manifesto, it was just jumping out at me. It was jumping out the similarities. Not saying that that other person is just like this person, because there's not a lot of similarities, but there are some similarities. And you wonder how come there's so much hatred toward the Greek life by serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
That's the question that needs to be asked. How come that's a targeted area for killings? Because there's been more than one that does it. Any speculation?
I think it's because they portray this perfect life and they have what I don't have, exactly the kinds of things he talked about.
Okay. Nina? You and Jeff are having a convo. I get it. Damn it, Jeff. How dare you distract my panel member? I'm going to block you like I blocked somebody else. No, I'm just kidding, but...
Oh, heck, I'm talking away and I'm just muted as heck.
Oh.
I was actually talking.
Were you? Okay,
yes,
there you go.
but I was muted. But I always mute afterwards. The thing about it, as far as like Greek row and stuff like that, if you think about it, they may be the nicest people ever and everything, but when you think of sororities and fraternities, you think of the snooty, high class, better than thou, the people that we don't like to like. You know what I'm saying? And so I think in some way, those kind of people, and I'm not talking all of them, but I'm talking some of them are snooty buttholes, but I think that that's how they become a target sometimes, is just from the reputation of being better than thou.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. But isn't that everybody in corporate America? Isn't that Bill Gates, Elon Musk? I mean, if we're
Well,
really
they
going to
don't go
look...
shooting up the strip bars. They go shooting up the big businesses. So,
There's been some strip clubs that have been... There was a killer that shot up a club in Atlanta, I think. I can't even remember his name. But he shot up a club in Atlanta. It was an LGBTQ
yeah, I know the
club.
one in Florida that got shot up.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Orlando.
But again, look at that. It was LGBTQIA, and so, it's anybody that doesn't fit in what you feel. If you're better than me, if you're gay, if you're black, if you're, if I don't agree with that, then that's what I'm going to go shoot up.
And Kelly says, if we're talking about Elliot Rodgers, you have to look at that area too. That area where he was from, a lot of those kids came from wealth. Very good point. Very good point. And you're right about that. I mean, but to an extent, he had money too, or his parents had a little bit of money. He wasn't wealthy, but I mean, I don't know anybody who is broke that can walk on a red carpet. I mean, go to all these premieres.
I don't know anybody that's broke that wears $300 sunglasses.
Yeah. Well, I got $300 sunglasses, but
okay, that's it. You're a target.
And I got these $10 ones that I was gonna wear for tonight, but
you better than thou.
I'm gonna drive my car around and follow you and yell bad things at you.
You asshole.
Oh my God. What did I start? Santa Barbara, but he was from Westlake, I believe. Yes, indeed. Both of y'all are gonna be creeping on me, huh? Be like,
that's right.
You know what? I've lost them.
He pawned those things.
I've lost them $200 ones in the river floating before. So
who floats in the river with $300 sunglasses?
I said there were $200.
Oh, $200 sunglasses.
Yeah.
Don't you know you can lose them in the river?
At that point, I was being that guy. Yeah.
Well, what had happened was,
Well, I lost him. I mean, I couldn't do anything about it. We have to. I'm focusing on the chat here for a second. He thought by having the money, the clothes, and the car that would get the girl, but almost every girl in that area already had that. Good point.
exactly.
Good point. So, if you have what I have, I don't notice you because
You don't have anything to offer.
Great point. Great point. Great point. I would still be crying.
I'd be crying if I spent that money.
If I was rich, I would not buy $200 sunglasses, purses, or shoes. I can think of so much other things.
Now, see, I agree with that, but then I sit there and think, but if I was rich, would I still think that?
I lost my sunglasses in the lake after a big storm. Later that month, we found them. Yes, tell Lake Erie.
Oh, I'm by Lake Erie, Heather. That's funny.
I'm not a girly girl. I hate purses and uncomfortable clothes. Okay.
I like deception. Deception, I don't even own a purse.
12 gauge. I have a weakness for high dollar sunglasses too. Well, I mean, I did until I lost them. And then I was like, nah, I'll just go to Walmart and get me some of these, $20 ones are just as good. I actually have a shoe fetish. I mean, I would always buy in twos. So, like in the store, this one looked good, this one looked good. I can't decide whichever. So I'm going to buy them both, bring them home. So, yeah. But at that point, it was all right. Now I'm in recovery for that. I haven't bought a pair of shoes in a while. He was very much like the other person we're not talking about. They weren't bad looking or anything, but it's the way they interact with people. Okay, so let's talk about is, do you believe bullets, beauty, brawn, and bling, that Elliot was socially awkward?
Well, yeah. He was more than socially awkward. I mean, the problem that I saw was he didn't reach out to a girl. I mean, really, if you think about it, he never got rejected because he never did anything to get rejected. He thought they were supposed to just fly into him.
Quad B. I'm going to call you Quad B. There you go. You're right about that. I mean, how can you be rejected if you never reach out?
Right. But he was so insecure of himself that he wouldn't put that first foot, and he was already borrowing trouble by saying he was rejected when he wasn't even rejected.
And I think that's the kind of thing that maybe if he was getting counseling, that he could have got help with that type of social behaviors, right? Can't you could at least try to give some strategies to try and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could send him to gigolo school or something.
Yeah.
Like I said, join a club.
Yeah, join a club, dude. Join a club.
I bet the
How
girls
to approach girls
on from his computer screen never rejected him, never needed him. But you know what's different too is he started being repulsed by the thing he wanted the most.
Yes, that is the whole incel movement. I mean, the whole subculture, for an incel is the hatred of what they want the most.
Right. It's like, how come he couldn't overcome that? What was keeping him from saying, okay, maybe I want this type of girl, but this girl at the library seems to look at me and smile. How come I can't just go and talk to her and at least practice my approach?
Lower his standards?
I thought that too, honestly.
That's unacceptable. I mean, he was supposed to have...
He didn't want that. It was all or nothing.
But that's what I'm saying is part of his mental illness was, number one, the entitlement. If he's entitled to win the lottery, then he is entitled to the blind American girl.
Yeah.
And he will accept no less.
Well, he did have guy friends until they started getting girlfriends.
Yeah, until he found out he was the only virgin in the bunch.
And then that would make him mad, and he'd quit talking to him.
Exactly.
Especially if they started talking about getting what he wanted. He's like.
Well, think about it. Do you really want to sit around with a bunch of guys talking about, hey, guess what I did last night? And you're sitting there a virgin and don't have a clue what they're talking about? Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at this comment. I was wondering where you were at. So he just didn't want to get laid?
He wanted to get laid, but he was afraid to get laid.
There you go. Other guys would be like, your girlfriend got a friend for me?
Exactly.
I mean, sometimes you got to take one for the team, bro.
Exactly. But the thing about it is a lot of people put his dad down because I think his dad made a statement about he was going to get him a prostitute, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, why would you ever go and get your son a prostitute? That's what was driving him crazy, was he wanted to get laid. So in his dad's, the way he was understanding it, he didn't know about an incel or any kind of mental thing like that. So he just thought his son needed laid. If I get him a prostitute, I can fix him.
Nina, he had a nanny.
Okay, the nanny was probably too old.
You got to start somewhere, Nina. It doesn't matter. At one point, if your fixation, and I'm not being scientific right now, this is just me being a guy.
Right back.
Okay. And you just got to start somewhere. If that's your fixation, you have to start somewhere.
Right, I understand that. But when you are Elliot Rodger and you're entitled, you're not going to do the nanny. You're waiting on that blind American girl.
Well, you have to start somewhere. He could just keep his mouth shut about being a virgin. There you go. Don't tell these girls that you're a virgin. Don't be so fixated.
And my question...
I'm being serious right now because you never know who's watching this right now.
Right.
And could be having this kind of issue. We're joking about it, but we're joking on Elliot's behalf, not at him, okay? You have to be able to understand the difference, because his dad said he didn't want that because he wanted it to come from his heart.
Right.
So a lot of people have that misconception. If it's just sex and it's not from my heart, then it's not right. There's a lot of guilt there.
Right.
Guilt and shame.
Right.
Do y'all agree with that, chat? I mean, because I'm joking. I say he could have been with the nanny and this, that, and the other, but in reality, he said if his heart wasn't attached to it, then, he couldn't do it.
Well, if your heart's going to be attached to it, you might want to reach out to someone. You can't have heart and be in a relationship if you don't reach out and say, hi, my name's Elliot.
Well, not talking about that other case, but whose other father reached out for him at 28?
Look, that dude reached out. He got all up in their personal space and everything. He didn't have a problem reaching out.
The dad said, hey, my son just moved here. You got any friends for him? That's basically what he said in so many words, right?
Dad just didn't know that dude was a player of his own.
Dad was a pimp, wasn't he?
I mean, he wasn't shy. He get up in your space. Where you live? What are you doing? What's your name? I want your phone number. And that's only my opinion. So, I think that's what made him creepy was, he didn't respect personal space.
Right. And I mean, maybe that's how Dad lost his, Maybe Dad learned it like that. Maybe he didn't learn the right way until later on in life, so that's what he pushed off on Elliot.
Right.
Because a lot of cultures, it seemed like Dad had an accent, so maybe in that culture, that's how you become a man, not the American way, but other ways. Yeah, Dad
But
was looking
on another note, if y'all are ever curious, look up Elliot's brother. I mean, because Elliot's brother, I mean, oh my gosh, the pictures and everything. I mean, like the modeling and everything that his brother, I mean, he turned out, I'm not going to say he's an incel because he's probably not, but you can see some of the same characteristics in like the way that he models and stuff like that, from Elliot.
I've never seen that. Let's see, what's his name?
Elliot's brother.
Yes.
Was that Jazz? Is that the one that was?
Yeah,
Jazz?
yeah, that's his name, Jazz.
Jazz Rodgers?
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing about it is when I researched him, I was like, oh my gosh, because it's all about looks, it's all about modeling, it's and who's right there teaching him and coaching him is the stepmom.
Does he have girlfriends or boyfriends?
You don't know anything about his personal life. It's all about his looks.
And he's a professional model?
Yeah.
I'm going to stay on for about 10 more minutes, 12 gauge, if that's all right. Uh-oh, muted.
Damn it. Can y'all see the pictures? There he is right here. Let's see.
Oh, wow.
Is this his Instagram right here? That's usually where all the pictures
Oh yeah,
are.
him and his stepmom, not his stepmom, him and his mom, they have their own website.
Look, he has some glasses too.
He probably has $400 glasses.
That's his brother. Wow.
Yeah.
That's the brother that he didn't want to grow up to have the life that he could.
Because he could end up being better than Elliot was.
Right.
Wow.
Yep. And like the top row, picture number 4, if I'm not mistaken, that's the one that's on his and his mother's website.
He looks scary. Rondi likes it. Nice. Rondi. I got in touch with him a few weeks later and asked him if he did it. He said no. And he asked why not. He said, why do I have to compliment them? Why don't they compliment me?
Yep.
At that stage, I realized he was very troubled. You know what's interesting too, and I thought this from the beginning, since we're not talking about that other case, they found a book that had an underlining of 118. I was wondering if it kind of went with the manifesto. Some pixie.
See, that was my first thought was the manifesto.
Yeah.
But then I sat there and I went, that's not a book.
Does it have that many pages?
137.
Oh my wow.
Lack of testosterone. What? There were some messed up values for sure. Why would you say that? Because he looked kind of, I mean, he just looks like a very good skinned kid. He has good skin. I mean, look.
Yeah, he looks like a sissy.
Hey, he has bushy eyebrows.
Oh no.
See how we got to bring that other freaking case into this? Here's an older picture. Oh, wow.
Yep. Do you see one of the stepmom? Is that her? Let's see.
This is Elliot.
Yeah, I think the stepmom's in picture number 2. And then the picture, see where he's in between the 2 windows? That's them overseas.
That's the stepmom?
I think so, yeah. I'm on my phone, so that's a little bitty picture for an old lady.
Well, he has his shades on right there. But he didn't call them shades. He called them what? Sunglasses?
Yeah. $400 is sunglasses. They're not shades.
Wow. Okie grannies. It takes balls to reach out to pretty girls.
That's right. And when you got that kind of insecurity, you just resent them and go on about your business and get madder and madder.
But really, I mean, I've heard women say this, and I'm just quoting what I've heard throughout my lifetime, is, pretty girls don't really know that they're pretty.
Shit. I mean, shoot.
I'm not saying all, okay? I'm saying the ones that I've talked to, they usually get made fun of because they're skinnier. They have this and that and all that. I mean, everybody has their own insecurities. It doesn't matter.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, everybody's got their own baggage.
Yeah, that's me.
Everybody
My
has their own
insecurity is being shy.
You're shy?
I'm very shy.
How are you on the YouTube platform now?
Because I spent a year on TikTok and I would not get on panel. I would not do anything. The first year I was on TikTok, even if I did a duet, it was with a picture. Nobody knew what I looked like or anything because I'm so ashamed of my teeth. And don't do math, it'll mess your teeth up. So, and then it'll make you look like a hillbilly. But
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, so finally, I was going to tell my story on my 10th anniversary. And they were like, well, you've got to come up on panel. And I was like, oh my God. And once I went up there and turned my camera on, I was like, okay, I can do this, And so then I started going live every night from 11 p.m. till 5 a.m. every night, 7 nights a week. And because if you're struggling with addiction or anything like that, most of the time it's when you're sitting alone at night by yourself. That's when you're really struggling. And so I wanted to be there for people that wanted to, reach out. Well, what I learned was I would have 100 people in there. Well, 90 of them bitches would be asleep. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting a complex now. I mean, And so then come to find out, they were like, no, I feel secure in here. And when I can't sleep, I put you on my pillow and I lay there and listen and I fall asleep. And I was like, well, that's just sort of sweet, So I guess going live every night for 7 nights a week, I just got out of my head and realized that I'm me and that's who I am. That's the reason before I go on somebody's panel, I'm like, look, y'all don't know what will come out of my mouth. I just say how I feel. I'm me, and you can't put constraints on me or it won't work.
Yeah. This statement right here, I made a statement like this the other day as well. 7th and 8th grade was awful. Those were some bad times. I don't know if y'all remember it, but going into junior high, it was like the pecking order just kind of, everybody clicked together just to make themselves stronger. It was terrible. 12 gauge, when you tell a pretty girl they're pretty, usually they will say, no, I'm not. Or they're conceited and say, I know. Yeah, that's true. Or they'll say, oh, you're so kind.
Shoot, if I was that pretty, I'd say, bitch, I know. Thank you.
But you know what? Internal, and I'm not trying to be cliche-ish here, But internal beauty and smarts, those go a long more ways than the beauty.
Thank goodness, because that's the only thing that saves me.
Because you know what? In time, gravity is nobody's friend. I don't care.
Exactly.
I don't care what people say. All the Botox in the world and all this and that and the other. Eventually, everything's gonna disintegrate. Wow, Callie, you got jumped twice? That's terrible. I talked to those kids about how weak that was today, about having to gang up on somebody in order to feel strong. That's terrible that happened to you. I hope that you were okay afterwards. I mean, that's traumatizing. Deception says, me too, Nina. I was shy until ninth grade. I looked around and was like, I've been with these people since kindergarten. From the day on, I say what I think. Very good. Oh my God, I hated that. I told the kid today I didn't fight until my senior year. I got into more fights my senior year than the rest of the time. And they asked me why, and I said, I don't know. I guess I was out the door. On my way out the door, I didn't care. What are they going to do? Add an extra year? You know, what were they going to do to me? So, you know, I just kind of asserted my dominance, but it is what it is. I don't even know why I'm sharing stuff I'm sharing. I'm like, what is wrong with you? You have panel guests here. Keep it together. Anyways, so with Elliot Rodger, all the insecurities that he would say on his videos, and his father really didn't address any. I mean, I know he was on national TV and everything, but he didn't address any of those insecurities, really. I saw a comment earlier. Somebody said that his dad was making excuses for him. Did y'all hear the same thing?
No, I didn't. And I guess the reason I say no is because his dad reached out to every parent that was affected by that event. And he is actually now best friends with, like, I think 2 or 3 of the dads.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that took great courage to be the parent of somebody that did that, to reach out to those parents and apologize on your son's behalf. You know, and he also made the website. I put the name of it in the back chat. You
Okay.
know, he made the website, you know, so people could have resources to get mental help and stuff like that. And he did the interviews, and he came out and he talked about things that needed to change and trying to get laws changed and stuff like that, you know. So I think that he has put the work in, and I think that he has, you know, I mean, it's so funny because I had just talked to someone last night about doing an INCEL thing because of the research I've done on it. And I've emailed back and forth with his father, you know, and his father is a very kind soul. Does he have a bitch of a wife? Yeah. Did he have a bitch of an ex-wife? Yeah. You know, does he have a good skinned son? Yes. Uh, um, but anyway, but the mom has yet to say anything. The mom has yet to do anything. She's yet to do an interview. She just sort of stuck her head in the sand and it didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, his dad does sound like he at least attempted to correct some of his son's wrongs. I mean, I think he got with one of the other kids' dad. Isn't that what
Yes.
he got with another kid dad that was killed by his son, and they ended up doing a lot of speeches and stuff, just like what you just said. And I mean that's strength right there. That's forgiveness. You know, just you can't associate somebody because of what somebody in their family did. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly. Just like, you know, that person that we don't talk about, you know, I mean, his sister's getting fired and stuff like that. You know, they have nothing to do with what he's accused of doing.
right? The person we're not talking about, right?
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's what I'm going to start referring him as whenever I
On my
do.
on my thumbnails, I'm gonna start using a
A
live
person.
about the person we're not talking about.
Yeah, there you go. Because I mean, either way, people get in their feelings about it, and I understand it. But you know what? In the end, we're talking about human beings, and these cases are about human beings. Some are no longer here. You know, like in this case, his son's no longer here. Other people's sons and daughters are no longer here. I mean, it's just tragic. But the cycle continues. That's what even more tragic. People don't learn from these things.
Right.
And that's
And
why
I
I
mean,
mean,
the
go
thing
ahead.
about it is the incel subculture is just growing.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah, that's
I don't know a lot about it. I've read a little bit, but you know, I just believe that anything negative that you feed grows. So, you know, you can change it, you can turn it around, but you know, in the end, we make our own choices. Whether you believe Elliot was the demigod or whatever, you know, that's your choice. What you do, you're gonna face consequences.
No, he was the perfect gentleman god.
The supreme gentleman,
the
yes.
Oh, the
supreme.
supreme gentleman god.
What is a supreme gentleman? I mean,
Oh, I guess it's because he spoke well and he did all the. Here's the supreme gentleman, bitch. Are you going to open the door for me? I mean, that's the supreme gentleman for me.
well, Chad, I don't know if y'all are blonde or whatever, or y'all are younger or anything of your demographics, but based on what you saw in that video of Elliot, would you give him a shot? What would he have to do to get your guard down to give that man a shot? Not to get laid, but just to take you out on a nice date and show you his gentleman qualities. What would he have to do?
Hmm.
Rondi says nope. No,
No.
no. None of these pathetic little whores or sluts at school will give me attention. Yeah, that was a quote. No, he should have upped his humor game. He would have to show some personality and kindness. Drop the attitude. See, I can't judge honestly now that I know what I know. Not one person would give this man a chance.
Well, there is that.
Oh, you're talking about yourself, Sigma. Okay. None of these pathetic little whores or sluts at school will give me attention. So you're talking about yourself. Okay,
Is somebody deflecting?
I think so. He would
Okay.
have hated me. I'm native. I mean, we also would not know he was there if he stayed. Stupid updates. Um, if he stayed where? Oh, in the car. Yeah, he would have hated me for sure, says Heather.
I know way too much about psychology.
He reeks of not being real.
Thank you, Granny.
I know way too much about psychology to say I would ever give him a chance, ever. Says
Thank you,
Kelly.
Dime.
Okay, so the men in the chat, let's say you came across a female version, because there's bound to be one,
They're called fem sales.
of Elliot.
Oh my gosh,
There
what
is,
are they called?
Fem sale.
so there is some. Nina, there are some?
Very, 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 very few.
Okay. But they hate men?
They hate and that's the thing about it is they hate everything. They hate everybody. They hate the world. They hate everything.
Hmm.
So
And
it's just not the men, the women, none of
what
that.
was funny was when I found out that there was gay incels. I was like, I got to read about that.
Nina speaks for herself on this. The views.
I am not an incel. I can get a woman.
No, I'm just saying the views and thoughts are not expressed by this channel.
The guests on this show do not reflect the host's opinion.
There you go. There you go.
Nina needs to come with a warning.
Hey, 12 gauge,
Oh,
thank you
thank
for
you.
having me on, but I gotta go.
Okay, well, thank you for being up here. You and Carlos are welcome anytime.
Thank
Just
you
come
so
in the
much.
chat and let me know you want to come up on panel, and I'll let you come on up. Okay?
Appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye. All right, Nina.
Yes.
Heather says, nothing said here was ever verified.
That's right. What's here stays here. There's not a million other people out there watching on YouTube.
Okay, Bullets, Beauty, Brown, and Bling, Quad B says, I think the current case was more of a Rex in the making versus an Elliot. I think you're probably right. I don't see enough of. Yeah, maybe we need to put that across the screen. But I agree with you, Quad B. There was some similarities, but there's not enough for there to be that much of the personality, the actions, because we heard today. I don't know if you were in. I'm gonna throw his channel out there, DTS Drunk Turkey Show by Howard Bloom, that he was at that pool party supposedly, and that he did get those two people's numbers. So how can you be an incel and you still? And he supposedly had an Asian female friend who he constantly was hanging with. So, I mean, an incel would say that I hate all forms of female, no matter what. Okay, Heather. Yeah, I heard it from that as well.
Are we talking about the person that has no name?
Yeah, the horse that has no name. From
Okay, the
Idaho.
person that has no name, I do not believe had any kind of incel qualities.
So, let me ask you this, because I was wondering this, and I'd even typed it, I think, in Discord or whatever, but I was wondering if Brian was a virgin. And somebody said, well, I'm pretty certain he wasn't because he got the ladies' numbers at the pool, but I don't know if he closed the deal. I mean, they supposedly had callers who were calling and hanging up, ghost callers. So I don't know. I don't know if he closed the deal. I don't know if the one Asian in the whole area, supposedly in a lot of people's minds, there are no more Asians, just this one, the new Brian. I don't know if he ever closed that deal. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Heather says TA can get booty in exchange for grades. Yeah. So I think that sounds a little more koosh than any other thing that I could put out there. But let's see what you say, Heather. I'm still waiting for you to come up on panel one night. Wonder if he closed the deal with one he installed account for. That's what I was wondering. Maybe that's why he, put it on his phone supposedly so he could replay the moment to himself. I don't know. I'm going to put something out there for you guys, and it's not inside information or anything like that. It's just my own thoughts. Do you believe in that case, in which we will not name at this time because we're not really talking about it, do you believe that there was trackers involved I'm not talking about dogs. I'm not talking about phone trackers. I'm talking about trackers that were placed on vehicles, that were placed in people's clothing, stuff like this. And I want you to think about that for those of you that come into my channel and are into my chat, because I will be discussing this when I discuss that case that we are not naming tonight. So here's a question. That's why Ashley Banfield said he has her nudes. Whose nudes? The person's camera he installed? Go Bama. I'm going to Bama in July, the last week of July. Be down there at Gulf Shores, Foley area. Yes, her nudes. I've never been to Dolphin Island. Can either one of you vouch for that place? I've heard great things about it, but I'm kind of leery to go. Her nodes? I'm kind of leery to go there because I don't know much about it. I've never been there. Yes, her nodes. So he has her nodes. Sounds fishy. Wow, where's Twiz at? He needs to come take you on a rabbit hole. I love Dolphin Island. No, Heather, I enjoy you being in chat. I enjoy the Discord. I enjoy your humor and, a lot of other individuals. If y'all have Discord, I'll eventually put my link up here and y'all can add me. But I'm not ready for that yet. Gulf Shores is awesome. I love Gulf Shores. I love Foley. I love the people of Alabama. They have some great personalities and they have a cool accent. I don't really have a Texas accent, but the people in Alabama and Mississippi and those areas have that accent. Fairhope is a good place too. Where's Dolphin Island? It's off the coast of Alabama. It's down south of Mobile. Or as y'all say, Mobile. Something. Yeah, this is cool. I'm checking out. God, you're typing all of a sudden. 12 gauge go to the floor of Bama. I've been there. Pensacola. I stayed in Navarre Beach 2 weeks last summer. I love that area. I almost moved there. But I got some stuff in Texas, some unfinished business on the bay near Mobile, Alabama. Yep. I'm not saying goodbye yet. I'm just kind of talking about Alabama for a minute. Yes, he was tracking them somehow. Thank you, Quad B. I believe so too. There had to be something that was allowing the individual who committed this crime to track the prey. I don't believe that driving around the house was, like they say, a shark circling the prey. I don't believe that. If the cell phone was off, how was he able to track when everybody was at home? I'm still wondering what the deal is with the HVAC person came to the crime scene. I would venture out on a note there that possibly they were looking in the ducts for any kind of hidden cameras, possibly maybe some knives, maybe some clothing, maybe anything. Here's another thing that I know the answer to, but I want to know your perception on this as well. At 9:24, 9:21 in the morning, it said in the PCA that his phone pinged near the residence at 1122 King Road. What's y'all's take on that? Good point. Well, if he wasn't the one, okay, because I've never said one way or the other, but I've tried to keep it neutral because that's what I believe at this point. Whoever did this, they had to have a way to track him. How did they know? And this is something that I'm preparing for my next live that I'm really going to kind of focus on, because I asked somebody this question earlier, and I was even thinking about it on the way outside the door leaving my job. I was thinking, who is the 6 degrees of separation from all the victims that would be able to leave 2 people alive and still walk out the door and not really be identified correctly? Did y'all hear that? That's where I'm going in my mind on my next live a little bit. Right, you're right. The problem with law enforcement stating they know his phone connected to the tower at the time, they do not believe it was in Moscow. Yeah, I get it. Twizzle and I had a conversation on that, and what we talked about made a lot of sense. You know, that's what I'm saying. 6 degrees of separation, whether it be male or female, they had the ability to know these 4 students' routines that would be able to leave 2 people alive. And you describe somebody who is very blasé to give them a getaway. You know, was the bushy eyebrow defined as brown bushy eyebrows, black bushy eyebrows, red bushy eyebrows, auburn colored bushy eyebrows, blonde bushy eyebrows, drawn on bushy eyebrows? You know, you name it. You can go on and on and on. And I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm just trying to be scientific a little bit. I want you to think about that. And I don't want an answer. I mean, because we don't know. It could be very much 6 degrees of separation, but I caught it that time. If we're not going down this road anymore, we have to start thinking other directions. Have they ever stated if he had a tablet? Not that I've read or even heard. So 6 degrees of separation. What person would know all the 4 people, all the 4 victims, the 2 surviving roommates, but only take out the 4, leave the 2, and be exonerated or be vindicated by the one that was left alive if we're not going the other direction? Do you get what I'm saying, guys? And I could be reaching a little far here, but it's better than a lot of stuff that I hear about this case. BK has a tablet, Twizzle says. Not that's been collected and warrant returns. We know in jail he has one, Twiz. We mean not in jail. Now I want you to think about that line. She said Dylan. I don't know. But there has to be somebody that's connected to all these people that would leave 2 people alive and one person give a description that would throw off the police enough to focus on one person that wasn't the person. as stated by so many people. You wanted to talk about midgets? Oh, I wanted to talk about Rogers. I thought you said it said midgets. Boy, I need to put my glasses on. No harm to the little people. I am not making fun at all. I thought that said little people. The 921 line. Yeah, no, I don't think he went to Moscow at 9. God, I'm going to go work out. I got too much sugar in my system, I think. I'll talk about them too. Well, let's call them politically correct names. Little people. Little people. Speaking of midgets, Elliot Rodgers. Whoa. That was harsh. That was harsh, bro. How tall was he? 5'9", 5'8"? He really wasn't a midget. A little person. Baby Rodgers. Jolly Rodgers. I mean, I don't know, man. I was just thinking about that. That question, and I wanted to throw that out to you guys for you to start thinking about it. Maybe we can talk about it in a chat. I didn't remember seeing one on warrant return, but I know a tablet can connect if it has its own line. So we're not talking about that case, but we are. And we're not talking about that unnamed individual in this case, but we kind of are. We're kind of just skating around it a little bit. They would likely know if he had one that a tablet with service. See, I almost went down a rumor. You know how the dad said he got so close he connected to the internet or Wi-Fi service? But that would mean that you'd have to know the password. Otherwise, know somebody who knew the password, who you got it from. Was he tight with a student that went there to party, and that's how he got the intel? Because he surely wasn't hated by everybody that crossed his path. I'm sure he knew somebody that knew these people. Was he tight with somebody who knew their information, the lock keys? Or somebody else was tight with these people who went to these parties, who knew the information that needed to be known? Even if it's somebody who's not an incel, somebody that was maybe liked by everyone, who would never be suspected as a serial killer. Hell, I log into McDonald's and Starbucks every time I pass them. Pisses me off because it always knocks my Spotify off. Well, I'm just throwing stuff out there at this point. As somebody said, throwing shit on the wall, expecting it to see what sticks. Somebody in our comment section said those weren't pants on the fire hydrant. There was something else. So I guess we got to rethink that theory. Those weren't pants. He was a petite. I don't know what that means. Usually the only time it is on is after an update. It was Superman's cape by the fire. Damn. People say BK did it too. I don't listen to what everyone says. How do we know they weren't pants by the fire hydrant? I don't know, bro. Don't attack the messenger here. I'm just telling you what my comments were saying. No need to be sorry here. Everybody's opinion is valid. We agree to disagree. This is a great thing about this chat, is everyone's thoughts are valid. I'm not gonna, not gonna get crazy on you for thinking something. It's your mind that's thinking it. I love it. It was the U of I plumber with the wrench and the plumber jeans. Oh, Rogers was petite. Yeah, he was small. I haven't seen WSU mom Kim in here in a while. When does she come out to play? That's a good YouTube channel. That's a good YouTube channel name. All thoughts valid. Hey, we need to start an alternative band. Like, we have our own channels, but we need to have a collaboration of all creators and call it a super channel. The Respectful Guilters. Roger's biggest problem is he had low testosterone. I believe he had low self-esteem. No, I haven't seen her in a while either. That's why I was asking. She used to come into this chat sometimes, saying he needed teeth therapy. Snap that up, Jeff. Well, Jeff hasn't gotten back to me, but last Friday night we tried something out of him playing his guitar. Tomorrow is Friday, so I was going to do the Idaho thing, but I'm not going to do it. I'm kind of waiting on Carla to get well in her journey, or to a good place, so we can do it together, because I want her perspective on it. So tomorrow I might do a lighthearted chat or a lighthearted stream about the case we're not talking about, but it's not going to be over something that is very very analytical. And we might even have Jeff just come up and do some guitar playing, if he's down with that. We're still trying that out. It'll be True Crime After Dark. So it'll be kind of about 8 o'clock, somewhere about there, if the wife will approve it. Hopefully Jeff is a good boy tomorrow, so she will say yes. She's doing well. She has her tough days, I haven't talked to her today, but yesterday and the day before, I talked to her, and she was in good spirits. I think she starts radiation next week, so I think she won't say it. But if you're in here, Carla, I'm not speaking for you, but I feel that anybody in that position would be kind of nervous. You know what I mean? So if y'all could say some prayers for Carla, that'd be deeply appreciated. And continue prayer for all the panel guests and everybody that comes in the chat. You guys are the reason that I do this. I don't do this for myself, So Jeff, get with me tomorrow and let me know if you're willing to do a couple songs, or even just talk about some silliness. Even we might have Twiz on the panel, or Heather, if we can get her up here. We can talk about some silly stuff, whatever. We don't have to talk true crime, because toward the end of the week we want to kind of wind down and leave the true crime, kind of chill. And I know you guys want to talk about Idaho. I'm not ignorant. If I talked about Idaho every day, I'd be rehashing stuff that has been talked about a year ago. And I know there's some new people that really aren't up to date on it. But, for some of the people that have been following it since day one or week one, it becomes kind of redundant. I want to start preparing people just in case the case doesn't turn out to be like people think it's going to be. Thank you, Christy, for being here. You're always appreciated. And thank you for your hard work and moderation of the chat. You and the others, Aquarius, Rondi. I'm about to get off here. We're almost at 3 hours. But guys, hopefully that tomorrow will be kind of a chill show. So anybody that likes live music, hopefully Jeff can entertain us for a little bit and we can all hang out. We can talk about some things, either crime related or whatever. We can kind of debrief the week or whatever it's going to be. So Jeff, just let me know, get with me, and the rest of you guys keep being awesome. Sunday we're going to have the 12 o'clock thing, unless I go out of town, and it might be later in the evening when I get back. Okay, I will let you know in the community tab. So you guys continue being awesome. Continue with your lives and be vigilant. And you know what I do at this time? I ask the maestro to cue the music. I don't even know what freaking intro I use, so